start.
Okay, so, first thing I'm gonna do is make sure that I can turn this baby on, okay?
By the way, I did get a CD.
I just bought one for us. What?
What is that? I gave a CD at the last meeting, the other weeks.
Does that run a CD?
I can put it on a CD.
Oh, you can put it on the CD?
Yeah.
It has a thing where you plug a cord in and it plugs into the computer, and then you take a piece of software, and you boot it up on your computer, and then it downloads the thing.
It's away from.
Where's Bill?
Here's
And
Bill.
what is yours? Is yours a recorder too?
This isn't mine, this belongs to the Hartford WPCA, $156.95.
And it's basically a recorder, right?
Basically, we're gonna find out.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've ever used
Depends how
it.
good the operator is.
And the operator's not very good.
MP3 or, the biggest way you wanna go now.
We're leading to the end of an hour and a half. All right. The meeting is called to order of March 1st, 2012 WPCA. All of the authority members are present except for Mr. Nerney, who's unable to attend tonight. We have an agenda, approximately 14 items. So I'm going to go right to agenda item number 2, approval of minutes, which Mr. Handwright prepared for us, which are the February 2nd, 2012 minutes. And if you haven't had a chance, we'll take a few moments to let you review it, and everybody can review them. Just give me a high sign.
What? I reviewed it on the screen yesterday.
Bill, did you get them by email?
I did, yes, and I actually reviewed them, but I wasn't there, so I have to abstain.
Oh, that's okay.
Any questions from anyone regarding the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So be it.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 1. Mr. Michelle? Motion carries. Item number 3, opportunity for public comment on agenda items. We have the water plant exhibit, which is
May I
here to
just go
report
back to that other one for a second?
to the minutes.
Because I thought you had sent us had a question, you sent us minutes from October 6th.
Yes, that's an attachment to the, we had approved the map and
All
the
right.
October minutes.
Okay, all right, that's why I was confused, there, sorry.
Okay. So we have in attendance the water planet, in the person of Mr. Weaver and Ms. Stark, but I'm gonna call on them as the water planet report, not the public. And the other member of the
All right,
public we
sounds
have
good.
is
Yeah,
the
right.
operator of the video, which, Bob, you don't have any.
I have no
public
comment at the moment, no.
Okay. So we're gonna go right to the water planet report.
I was hoping the video operator would have to turn that around to make comment and turn it around again. That would be some interesting video.
Very interesting.
I don't know, does anyone have a copy of the report yet?
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
You need one, Steve?
I got one,
You
thanks.
got one, okay. Basically, this is a pretty busy month. The major things were the jet pump in SVR number 3 failed. Well, it was running, but it was drawing high amps on one leg, which could cause it to overheat. So we had Blake Equipment come out and swap it with pump number 1, and it was still running high amps. And after the electrician came out and Blake came out and checked it again, we determined that there were 2 bad pumps. So we finally were able to swap it out with the spare that we had. We did have 1 spare. And after that was all hooked up correctly, it worked. In trying to get these 2 pumps that were bad covered under warranty, we discovered discovered that, they were from Brazil. They were not American assembled pumps. I guess when the plant was ready to be put online, the pumps were not ready. So they gave us loaners, Nickerson or CDM gave us loaners. And in December of 2010, they were supposed to swap them out with new pumps. And the new pumps did arrive, but when I called Nickerson to find out what these pumps were for, because no one had informed me, they said that 3 of them, 1 of them belonged to us and the other 3 did not. So they took them away. So Nickerson ended up just keeping these pumps, and when we found out that we needed them, they came out and swapped them out. So we have 4 brand new pumps, and the other 3 were taken away, the ones that were from Brazil. So,
And so when you say there are 4 new ARRA jet pumps, you mean they're American Reinvestment and Recovery Act pumps?
yes,
Okay, so
Yes.
just the Buy America provision of the USDA loan and grant that kicked in, it just that they weren't available when the plant went online, so they stuck in these Brazilian pumps.
exactly.
But we didn't, did we not incur a cost, or was just a Nickerson?
It should be covered by Nickerson,
Okay,
because they took them away in the first place,
right.
so I can find out for sure for you.
Well, we'll see it in the invoices, but
Okay.
we'll find out.
If they didn't fail, would they have left them there?
That,
Never mind.
Good question,
I'm
huh?
not sure about that, yeah.
Okay.
So, the other main thing was at the Prospect Street pump station, the pumps had stopped working, the grinders were dull, and they were getting clogged with baby wipes. So we got the grinders swapped out, those are brand new and they're working fine now, but we do need to send something out to the public, letting them know what's okay and what's not okay to flush down the toilet.
Now, that's at Prospect Street. We
At
had
Prospect
we did have a problem at Prospect Street with, female
Mm-hmm.
problems.
Mm-hmm.
They flushed them down the toilet.
And
This
clogged
was
the
with
pumps.
United, this was with,
Connecticut Water.
Connecticut Water.
Mm-hmm.
And we were gonna inform them of the people not to do that, but I
Yes.
don't think it was ever done.
Okay,
Can I interrupt you for a second, too?
yeah, sure.
Steve?
I wrote a letter,
Yes.
which Judy helped with, and it shows all of everything that you can't flush down, toilet, chemicals, hard stuff. What I'll do is I'll email it to everybody and take a look at it and we can get it out.
I think we should probably send it out with the next quarterly bills. We can ask CompuTel to stuff it in with the April bills. I think we're gonna be billing in early April, and if you see Steve's letter, it's pretty comprehensive. It's a 1-page letter, has a little box on it, do not put these things in it. So we are gonna do that, Ken.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry, Judy.
No, that's okay, those were the main things. Does anyone have any questions?
I had a question on the pump station itself.
The Prospect
Yes.
pump station? Yeah.
It is a pump station that has been problematic over the years, both electrical shorts in and out, the whole bit.
Mhm.
And I just wondered if there is a way for you folks to get us some kind of a cost estimate of either replacing that pump station or taking the guts of that pump station and replacing it and upgrading it to something that is more energy efficient, maybe more energy prone not to short outs, because we're throwing a lot of money at the Prospect Street pump station. It's a recurring type of thing, so I don't know, Grant and Judy,
Yeah.
if you could somehow tell us
Yeah, we'll do that.
what it is.
We'll be happy to do that.
Sure.
How old is it?
It's when they put in the Prospect Street extension.
About
which I
10
think
years
was
maybe? Or is it
maybe
more than that?
1990.
Judy, is that the one up above or down below?
That's the one at the bottom.
It's the bigger one.
Okay, that's the
Yeah.
bigger one, all right.
Not in the back.
Well,
Alright.
20 years.
Yeah, I think it's 1992.
Oh, it's been that long, okay.
I live on Prospect Street, so I
Mhm.
remember when the thing, I think it's 1992.
pumps that we had the grinders replaced on had been installed, I think, not that long ago, 2009.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
So the
yeah.
Yeah,
pumps
it's not
are
very long.
Yeah.
bad seam rivers, so.
Yeah, that is,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fine, then.
Okay. And while we have CEO and the CFO of the water plant here, Grant, any words for us, or any questions anybody has for Grant? So we don't see Grant that often. Anything in particular?
I don't have a stump speech or anything.
Okay, I just wondered.
How is it going with us? I mean, are you guys happy with us? We're sure happy being here. It was
I
frustrating.
think that it's gone well. Steve is our man on the ground. I heard that somebody said there was some kind of a rating of plant operations in Connecticut, and that our plant was rated as being one of the better run, more efficient plants. I don't know if you guys are on some American Idol or something, but it turned out that you got some kudos. But
Oh, okay.
so.
First I heard about that, so
Yeah,
that's excellent.
I don't, maybe it's not true.
Very quietly got our kudos.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's it. So,
right.
other than that, thanks for coming. You're welcome to stay, but we have business that isn't, I don't think, related.
It's not gonna get more exciting than this.
Yeah.
This is the peak, it's all downhill.
Go down here from
All
here.
right, well,
I
leave
would,
on a high
you
note.
know, I would like to take the opportunity, just because you asked, how we feel about your service. I personally am very pleased that you're involved. I feel like, the information is flowing much better than it had been in the past.
oh, that's
We're getting good information. I feel pretty confident that we're in good hands, so.
Yeah.
well, that's nice to hear, thank you.
Yeah, Ted and Judy do an excellent job. Ted comes out because he's right here in Winsted. We had a mess here a couple of weeks ago where he came out and worked with the homeowner on a Saturday and a Sunday, and he came out at 7 o'clock in the morning to meet the truck. He's done everything that we could imagine, so.
Okay, that's great, yeah.
So the United Water report.
All right, thanks.
I don't see a United Water report.
I don't see
Drive carefully.
Alan either.
I don't see Alan, so we're gonna pass the United Water report. It's unusual that he wouldn't call. It's very unusual that he wouldn't call. So,
See you again.
I hope he's okay.
yeah, I'll try to email him tomorrow and find out what the deal is. Item number 6 is it's just an item that I put on because they're, in between the meetings, a lot of things happen, and I'm just gonna generally report on them. And so here goes. There is a meeting scheduled, or a tentative meeting, that the Board of Selectmen would like to set up for March 15th, because there was a motion that they considered at their meeting, and the motion passed. And what the motion is, if you guys could just deal with this, because I didn't staple them, it's a 2-page document, and just pass that out. What this is a document that is entitled Hartford's Clean and Wastewater Future. And what occurred was, on the second page, they're going to convene a task force of the WPCA, 2 members, the board building oversight committee, 2 members, 2 former select persons, who I assume are Mr. Baxter and Mrs. Rieger, and the current first selectman is chairman. So that's that passed, and it's on March 15th. I told the Board of Selectmen that I would bring this before our board tonight for input about who would be our members, and I was told that in the motion, they mentioned who it would be. It would be me and Hambright. So I guess we have to at least go to the first one, because they said, well, if you guys don't come, then it's not a valid motion. So I do have that night open, and I will respond and go to the first meeting. But this is what I know of it so far. It's a 2-pager. So if you have comments about it, feel free to talk to Steve and I about them offline. I'm not sure, this is not a comprehensive list of some of the issues, but it's a list. Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
talk, yeah,
I'd just like to make one comment, because you know, I look at this list, like to make two comments. I look at this list, and it's apparent to me that whoever put this together is focused on symptoms, not causes of the problems that we're having. You know, I think this board has worked very hard to get the system into shape. And all of the things on here, unpredictable failures, aging lines, these are problems that every system in New England has to deal with. And the issue that we're having, the reason we haven't fixed all these things is because we have a very small user base, a lot of fixed costs, and we're really doing the best we can with what we have to get ahead of this. And I think over the last 5 years, we've come a long way to kind of managing the system. We're no longer reacting to problems, we're kind of more in control of things. And we have a long way to go, certainly have a long way to go. But I think if this task force or whoever wants to solve these problems focuses on the symptoms and not the problems, which is a small user base, lack of funding, the lack of support from other parts of the community, you know, it's just going to be another restatement of what we really already know. And then the other thing I would like to say is that, you know, as an engineer, I learned very early on in my career that you don't go to a situation with just problems. You go to a situation with a problem and a solution. And I am not sure, based on our history over the last 5 years, in the establishment of an oversight committee for the building, for the wastewater treatment plant, that setting up another committee is really a solution to this problem. I think the solution has to be that. I think committees tend to, in our experience, tend to be distractions, tend to create more work than they do solve problems. I'll be open-minded. Maybe this will be a different situation, but I just felt obligated to put that on the record.
I agree with what you said. And I'm not even sure what the purpose of this committee is, quite frankly. The first selectman did not have the courtesy to even come before this board, the last meeting we had, Bill, to tell us that they were having a special meeting to establish this committee and ask us for our input, what this committee should be doing, or any ideas that we might have for such a committee, or whether we even thought it was worthwhile. I think the town made a very big mistake when they established the VOC to basically run and oversee half of what our job is, which is to oversee not only the running of the plant, but infrastructure issues as well. And we have two different boards doing what the WPCA should be focusing on. And if we had oversight for everything here, inclusive of the infrastructure, I think we could deal with it on a much more integrated and a much more rational basis. But the town made the mistake of establishing the Building Oversight Committee, which purportedly was simply to watch them build the plant, which would have been built with or without it. Now it becomes virtually an infrastructure committee to make decisions about what we're going to fix and what we're not going to fix in the town. I agree completely and wholeheartedly that this ought to be a community issue and not an issue simply of deciding whether we're going to sell the plant or not sell the plant. The community ought to be involved in supporting the infrastructure through the general tax base. There shouldn't be any ifs, ands, and buts about that. 400 users cannot, without free money, which isn't available, support fixing that infrastructure out there. And I'll be very surprised if somebody says, let's see if we can sell it, if you're gonna get any takers. If anybody wants to buy that system the way it's described in this memo, would have to probably have his head examined to put that much money into a system with 400 users. We should be protecting the user base. Nobody's focused on that. This is, if I had to bet, this was put together to avoid having to address the bigger issue, the bigger policy issues about who should be supporting this plant and who should be supporting the infrastructure connected with this plant.
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, and just to build on a point that David just made. I don't know what this committee is talking about selling, whether it's talking about selling the water side of the business or the sewer side or the whole thing or what, if that is even on the table. If it is on the table, one of the concerns that we've raised all along with that is that as soon as we no longer own the rights, say, to the water and to the water system, we also lose control over the rates. And this board is a representative board. It represents the user base, the people who mainly shoulder the burden of the costs. It also represents other parts of the community. And so this board, when it makes decisions, doesn't make decisions based on profit. It makes decisions based on trying to balance some very tough issues. Fiscal sustainability, absolutely. We've demonstrated through our actions that we are committed to that, and we've been making tough choices in terms of rates. We've been putting the time and energy into making sure that we're looking beyond just next year and that we've got a good plan going ahead. So fiscal stability and sustainability has been one of our key focuses, but we also recognize that decisions that will take millions of dollars out of the people who live down here in the downtown area, or that will make it very hard to locate a business in this area and make a profit at that, are not good decisions for the town. And so, you know, we've really, I think, having a board like this, being able to weigh both community interests and fiscal sustainability, financial sustainability, is a much different board than a board that would sit on a utility that was mainly looking to make sure that its profits were up or that its shareholders were making a good return on their investment. And so I would hesitate. I would put that idea very strongly into the discussion here. That's a loss of control in terms of the future of the downtown of New Hartford. So cautionary note.
So Steve and I will attend, and
What time is the meeting?
I don't know yet. We're just trying to work it out. So
Would you try and steer it to an evening meeting so that this doesn't become a shutout type of situation where some of these boards have meetings during the day when most people are working?
right.
If you wanted to try the afternoon.
No, I strongly ask you guys to stick up for.
Well, one of the thoughts that I
people
quite
who are interested to go.
One of the thoughts that I had about the timing of the meeting, because we've got some items here which may require us to get together in a couple of weeks for a special meeting, was that when we do decide on a day, the whole committee decides on a day, we maybe meet that, whatever this committee is, we meet at like 6-ish, and then we meet right afterwards, so we can share immediately the comments and then move some of the agenda. So that's one of the thoughts I had. If we do
Is this an open meeting?
I would assume it would have to be a
People
public
to
meeting.
speak.
Oh, sure, I think it has to be a public meeting.
That special meeting we had, that they had last week was obviously a setup where nobody was permitted to talk on any subject, and they made it very clear that that was going to be the case. So, I don't necessarily understand.
Well, it's a different question about how you run the meeting for opportunity for public comment, but it is a public meeting in the sense that it is open to the public. I would assume that's the case. But we'll see. I do agree with Bill's comments about the larger picture being at the moment not in charge of the committee, and I think it's our job to paint the larger picture. So what else I had was, and this is no apparent order, Steve put together a letterhead for us. Because we have to send out letters, so I'm gonna go have Steve run that off. He put it together on his computer, just so when I send a letter to CompuTel or what have you, we get some letterhead here. The only problem with it, Steve, is that we need a letter. So,
Well, I
we're
was
gonna
trying to do
letter.
the letter with, you know,
Yeah.
to send out, and I had
Start
asked if
somewhere.
there was any letterhead here, and everybody's like, oh, well, Christine gave you the, you know, the one piece.
I'll tell you what, for the, if you want to, send a copy over to Linda at CompuTel, so when she does new, more delinquent notices, because what she put together was, she just put the logo in the left corner like you did, Steve.
Yeah.
But nothing else. So
Okay,
it might
so
be-
maybe that's a great
might be
idea. On
nice
behalf of the
to-
WPCA, CompuTel is sending you the following letter.
Yeah.
I just want to talk a little bit about the money in the budget. We have a general ledger which is maintained by us, by town employee Mrs. Tuxbury. But our budget document itself is really maintained by us, and when I say by us, it's really maintained by Bill. So I've asked Bill, to the extent that he's not overburdened, to at maybe the next monthly meeting, do a year-to-date for us, so we can look down the road. But in general terms, the balance as of February 29th, 2012 is the following. It is $65,893 with a set-aside of $33,374 for our loan repayment in September on the USDA loan, which is approximately $72,000 this year. So I'm following Kenny's methodology when he was chair of just pushing every so often, every month, some money into that reserve. So we know, I can see on this piece of paper, our progress towards that money. So in September, we're not surprised by it. But next month, hopefully we'll get a year-to-date things. We can just open the budget and know what our projected revenues are, our actual revenues, our projected expenditures, and their actual.
So what are the numbers again?
Well, at the moment, we have, the balance is a total of $65,893 plus the $33,374, which is being segregated towards that loan repayment of September of 2012.
The 33 is not part of the 65. Right?
It is not.
Right.
Okay. Now, the next item is a user charge credit. As you are well aware, we have a policy where people who demonstrate a spike in utilization can generally come here and get a one-time credit for that. Here's what we have. We have 8 Bridge Street, which is has many units in it, and the numbers are this. In the quarter that began April, May, and ended in June of 2011, April, May, and June, before the rate increase, that property was billed $2,030. In July, August, and September, the first quarter after the rate increase, it was billed $4,677. In the succeeding quarter, October, November, December, it went back into the range of the 2,000. It went to 2,103. 2030, 4677, 2,103. Letter says there was a sharp increase in water usage in the third quarter. The usage for this quarter was 177,000 gallons. The normal quarterly usage ranges from 78,000 to 91,000, and that's reflected in these backup documents. The increase was due to a malfunctioned toilet. It's been brought to my attention that there is a possibility of a refund being issued in cases like these. Copy of the invoice in question is closed, as well as the invoices for the second and the fourth quarters. The invoices for the second and fourth illustrate standard water usage pattern at 8 Bridge Street. I appreciate your consideration of this matter. Thank you. Sincerely, Carver Properties, LLC. So, if we stick with our policy.
Wait a minute, I got a question.
Sure.
Can a toilet use that much water?
You possibly can, but it had to be running for 3 months.
Yeah.
How can they, why are they not fixing it?
These
This
are-
person, I mean, their whole quarterly bill went up, what? It went up 100,000 gallons
It
in the
went-
3/4?
It went up from, in the two low ones, it went from, I guess these are in the 100,000s. The consumption went from 79 to 86, and in the big number, it went to 177.
So it's 100,000
Yeah,
gallons.
this is an apartment house with maybe 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 units. I
Yes.
don't know how many.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one toilet, yeah, it must have been a toilet where the tenant was either not there, or was vacant, or
Yeah.
something, or the tenant just never reported it,
Is
just
it-
let it go.
Is it our problem though?
But what
No,
we-
it's not our problem to fix,
Okay.
but we have given credits in the past. We have set a precedent.
Okay.
We have a policy, basically, it's not written,
Okay.
but we give people one pass. If they have a big problem, somebody misses it, one pass.
Okay.
Which means, if that happens again, it's on their back.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've
This
done
problem
is-
hasn't had it. This
They've
year
never
hasn't
had it,
it.
and,
What we've done is share it with them, we haven't given them, I don't think, I think the last one we worked out some kind of formula where we shared it with them.
well, what we did last time is
That was with Tony, right?
we, instead of giving them a
Antonio.
refund, yes, apartment, a building here on Main Street, instead of giving a refund check, what we decided to do was to just say, okay, this is fair, we're not gonna write you a check, we're gonna give you a credit against next month's bill. So if we follow that, and if we average this and we say, look, if you averaged it, it's basically about $2,100, and you took it against the 46, it's about 2,500. Because of the circumstances, I'm just gonna throw this out there, maybe our credit is going forward $2,000. It seems
It's $2,000 of water be going down the toilet. Someone should have known. I mean, I can understand, Antonio's wasn't that bad.
Well,
Yeah,
the
Antonio's
the
just-
thing with Antonio's is that he let it go for 2 quarters, I believe. That was why we kind of split that and went in there. He,
Yeah.
he noticed the problem and then it continued. Yeah, I mean, if maybe the issue here is we should get some more details on.
We should get more, I think, we should get more detailed and see if they, ask was Computel billing at that time?
yes.
Ask Computel, was any red flags raised with that $4,000 bill to them?
No.
They obviously fixed it, I mean, they
No,
caught
what
it.
happened was that the owner of the property paid the bill, and then paid the subsequent lower bill, and then was in town hall and was told, sometimes the WPCA gives you credits for policy, so the
Oh.
property owner was paid the 4,000 and didn't say a word, but then said, as she said, it has been brought to my attention, this is dated February 13th, 2012, just a couple of weeks ago, that there is a possibility of a refund being issued in cases like this, and that's how it came to us.
All right, So is the suggestion we table it now, look at further more detail, and then come up with a plan? Maybe something along the lines of that would give you credit for the next 4 quarters, you know, spread it out, because you want the income coming in. You don't wanna just.
Well, I don't think you're gonna get any more detail. I think you're gonna get, it was 4,000 and it was usually 2,000. So if you want more detail, I can have the property owner come in and talk about the exact circumstances of it, and then we can deal with it however we want to, whether we wanna string out the credit, go for all
I would suggest what David said, string out the credit over at least 2 to 4 quarters. I mean, we can't afford to lose $2,000 in 1 quarter and string it out to 4 quarters. So we're only losing $400.
Well, it is a large sum of money, it's $2,000. You wanna do 500 a quarter until the
I
next 4
would-
quarters?
I think that's the fair, if we've had a policy that we've done this in the past, I think you have to follow through with that, and I think, not to take the financial hit, we can spread it across 4 quarters is fair. I mean, they're getting free money, basically.
So it'll be the April bill.
My toilet was running, I would definitely make sure I fixed it, so I
Sure.
wouldn't have to pay it, though.
Yeah, and I think sometimes these are hard, and the cases that we've had sometimes don't happen with homeowners necessarily, they more or less happen
In
with,
commercial.
In commercial and
or-
people
or
who are
rental.
renting it.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where this
He
stuff
doesn't
comes
have
from.
the opportunity to check it.
to go into each
Yeah.
one,
Right.
until he sees a water bill and says, what happened here?
Right, yeah.
Well, it's a one-time use, if it
Right, so-
happens
so-
again, that's it. That's-
Yeah.
You want a motion then, or we?
Yeah, can we have a motion to do the 500 a
Quarter
quarter?
for the next 4 quarters?
Yeah.
Second.
And, how will CompuTill?
I will write him a letter on our new
Oh, there
stationery.
you go. Okay. Very good.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries, and I will inform CompuTill, thank you. Sewer
Could I just, I hate to go back to the previous agenda item, but I have to boot up my computer. Just to let you know, last year when we did our rate setting, I did run a cash flow projection based on our rates, on our expenses and our revenues, and I had us sitting about $90,000 at the end of February, so, it's pretty close. I suspect that our expenses have been lower than what we projected, and our revenues have been lower because of the receivables, outstanding receivables, but just to tell you that.
Hey, it's pretty good though, Bill, maybe we should take you to Foxwoods. Okay, sewer, number 8, sewer service area map update. The only reason I put this on here is because we adopted the map last time in the February minutes. And the only thing that was left to be happen is to submit it to the commissioner of DEEP for approval. And Wright Pierce drafted a letter and sent it to me, and it looks like a normal transmittal letter. And so I'm going to tell them, I just got it, I'm going to tell them to send it to the commissioner for final approval. Okay? And it's going to come back as we move to number 9, orders to connect, process, and timeline. Because I want to deal with the orders to connect if we can tonight. We have 38 properties within 100 feet. Got them all mentioned, they're all listed, we know who they are, they're here. We have previously gotten a legal opinion from Murtha Kalina regarding the process for the orders to connect and our statutory authority and the notice that we are to give them, and the requirement that we then hold a public hearing after the due notice for those people to come on in and talk about the order to connect. And then we have the ability to do it after an appeal period runs, where they can go to court if they want to. If they don't, we enforce the order to connect. Now, I bring this up because when we talked about it last time, we talked about it in connection with the finances, we talked about it in connection with the benefit assessment. It was an entirely different thing. We talked about the benefit, the connection fees that we have in place under our current rates being fairly small. $250, I think, for a residence, $350 for a 2-family, and I think we've got something for commercial. So, when you look at it from the order to connect point of view, it looks to me like that's a very small order to connect. Order connects usually are in thousands of dollars. But when we talked about it last time, we did talk about the fact that these people have been on the system, they've been ordered to connect. They are going to incur a cost to connect because they're going to have to implement the lateral, which is going to cost them some cash. And that could be anywhere from $3, $4, $5, $6 grand, who knows, depending on how far away you are. But because of our situation, I put it on the agenda because I think it's time to call a question on the orders to connect. We're either going to do it under certain conditions, or we're just not going to do it because we now know who they are. We have a very small connection fee. We've got some issues, so that's what I have for you. That's why I bring it up.
Well, if we give them the order to connect, are they gonna be under the present cost to connect, or are we gonna set new costs to connect?
Well, when I looked at it and brought it forward here, my personal approach, because of all of the issues that are surrounding this water waste and this waste collection system, is to be proactive in gathering new users, but also to be fair. And right now we have a small connection fee. That's about as fair as you can get on the connection fee. If you had a higher connection fee, the homeowner would still have, or the property owner would still have that $5,000 or $6,000 obligation on top of the connection fee. That's pretty onerous. So you say to somebody, here's your $5,000 connection fee, and oh, by the way, you gotta spend another $5,000 to connect. So the way I'm envisioning it is to leave the connection fee alone for this first.
But if you leave the connection fee alone, and then you put in a new sewer line, and raise the connection fee to the new sewer users on the new sewer line, it's not fair.
Can I just,
Sure. Well, I just want to comment on that. In the past, being someone who was connected, because the sewer line came down my street, in the old days, I didn't pay anything for a connection fee. All I had to pay was for my lateral.
You were lucky.
I was lucky. So, was that fair? I don't know. It's fair to me.
Okay. What I think we wanna do is almost like a two-prong approach. I think if you wanna force someone to connect, leave the connection fee low for a set period, 2 years, or something like that. At that point, if they haven't connected, we should have a connection fee for everybody that hasn't connected from that point on. But I think it has to be tied into property transfer, all these things. They have to be given a set of rules on how to, when they have to connect.
Well, what did we say? We're not just gonna let them make the decision, we're gonna order them to connect, are we not?
Yes.
See, and I disagree with ordering people to connect, personally. Just the feeling I have. I mean, I think if you give them financial incentive, such as you say, right now our connection fee is $250, whatever it may be. Say in 2 years, all the properties that are in pink, that are adjacent to sewer, that have access, you are going to pay a $5,000 connection charge at that point, from that point forward.
Well,
can I just throw some.
So it gives them incentive to
No, I
connect
understand.
if they want to
We have
connect.
not. We have sometimes alluded to, the blue light special. You come, if you're in early, it's more advantageous for you. We have talked about that a little bit.
But didn't we have a plan here,
We
isn't
do,
our budget
we do.
based on this?
Yeah.
We do, and if years ago, when we were talking about setting up the wastewater treatment plant, everything was tied to the connection fee. This connection fee was the way that we were gonna raise the revenue to pay our debt on the plant. Then about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, during our 5-year planning effort, we looked at this, we looked at the connection fee, difference between a connection fee and a benefit assessment. And I think we need to be very clear that those are two different things.
Right.
A lot of towns, I'm aware, they use the connection fee as the way to raise the revenue to pay for the infrastructure, but if you look at the DEP regulations and you think about it, or at least guidance, and you think about it in a logical way, the benefit assessment, you can charge a benefit assessment to any property that's benefited by the sewer system, and that doesn't mean they have to be connected. So by tying the infrastructure, by tying the method to raise revenue to pay for the infrastructure to the benefit assessment, we kind of take ourselves out of the take whether somebody actually connects or not out of the equation. Tomorrow, if we get the benefit assessment ready, we go through the public process, then the day after everything is in place, we can go to these users and we can start assessing benefits. These people who are not connected, but that are near the system. Now, the connection fee is a separate thing. We could use it to raise revenue to pay for the plant, but I don't believe that that's the right approach. And if you look at DEP guidance, it says that the connection charge is to be used after you've already paid off the debt for a plant, and so that's kind of where we've been heading with this. And the other thinking is that if you make the connection fee, this really more applies if we're not talking about mandatory connections. But when we were talking about voluntary connections, the thinking was keep the connection fee low, encourage people to come in instead of creating a hurdle of a disincentive for them to connect to the system. So, maybe we could use the connection fee as an incentive to get people to hook up more quickly. But I think Ken's comments about when we put a sewer line down a street and then we raise the connection fee to pay for that sewer line. That's a different thing, and I'd like to keep connection fee and benefit assessment separate, because we keep getting muddled, and I think it doesn't help us move forward.
Well,
I have a question.
maybe we just need to jump in and do it and order people to connect on the street. That's what we've been talking about for 2 years.
Ken?
We have a benefit connection fee is for the sewer plant now, am I correct? That's what we're doing.
Take that phrase, benefit connection fee, and break it in half, because they're two different things. The benefit assessment is really an assessment. It's an assessment to pay for the plant. We're getting there.
But it's based on a theory that
Capital
your
recovery.
property has benefited because now you are near a sewer.
But if we put a sewer line in front of their house, do they get another benefit assessment fee?
They get
I'm asking.
It's not another one.
Typically, it's an assessment on the line. Say you have
Assessment on the line.
100,000 and 10 houses, each
Line
one's
fee.
gonna, it's
A
gonna
line
cost
fee,
10,000.
okay.
That's a typical assessment. Now, a benefit assessment, I don't know, maybe it's muddling my mind here.
Let me just read to you two different parts of the statute, okay? Just to make it clear for you. 7-257, order to connect. The Water Pollution Control Authority may order the owner of any building to which a sewage system is available to connect to such building with the system, or order the owner to construct and connect the building to an alternative sewage treatment system, okay? That's what we can do. 7-249, assessment of benefits. At any time after a municipality, by its water pollution control authority, has acquired or constructed a sewer system according to the Water Pollution Control Authority, may levy benefit assessments upon the lands and buildings in the municipality which, in its judgment, are especially benefited thereby, whether they abut on such sewage system or not, and upon the owners of such buildings and land according to such rule as the Pollution Authority adopts, subject to the right of appeal as hereinafter provided. Two separate things. Two completely separate things. It's just why I want to break them out.
Well, the philosophy behind making them connect is that we now have 38 new customers.
I think we should have, and compromising with yourself, we should order them to connect. They have a certain period to connect under the present fee, and if they don't connect under the present fee, they will get like a surcharge, a higher fee.
I don't think I don't know if you can do that.
I believe that you can, but I think that if we're trying to build towards a consensus here, what I would suggest, just to throw it out, that we have Mirtha, because we have to change our connection fee, because we have a published connection
Yeah.
fee. And if we are going to say to somebody, here's the published connection fee, but if you don't pay it, if you don't connect within 18 months or 2 years or whatever we decide, then it's X. We are establishing a connection fee which we haven't adopted officially. So I just want to know.
You could call it a fine.
Well, I wanna know from the attorneys if we just need to hold a quick rate setting thing to change our connection fee and then move
We should.
forward on that basis.
Well,
Then it's all legal, at least you
I
can
know.
do it.
Right, I don't wanna send out an order to connect which says if you connect by XYZ date, it's $250, but if you don't, it's $4,000. If sitting on the rate chart downstairs outside the town hall and in our books, it says connection fee $250.
Correct.
I don't wanna do that.
Now, just,
so then go
I wanna
to Mirtha
talk to
and
Mirtha
ask.
and we'll come back in a special
Alright,
meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Then we have to table this. So.
Okay.
Yeah, just
let me, okay, good.
Just to throw, I've got Canton's schedule of sewer connection charges here, and they do have a kind of a graduate connection fee where if you connect in 2010, it's 8,000, 2011, it's 8,150, 2012. And so they do have that kind of graduated.
When we updated our plan
In Simsbury.
in Simsbury, you were given, everybody that had sewer available was given 2 years to connect. We went from 30 connections a year without paying a $4,095 connection charge. Went from about 30 for 2 years, we had 220 or something connections per year. So it will push the people to do it if they know they can save money. And you're not forcing people to do it. I have a problem with forcing people to do something. That's the only problem I have with the whole thing.
I mean, here's
I
something
understand
to
what you're saying.
consider. You know, the issue here is that if people take a longer time to connect, it's going to affect the rates that we need to have in order to pay for our services. The sooner people connect, the broader our base is going to be. And so, you know, I just quickly ran using the model. I popped in the 5-year connect within 5 years, and it raises the rate that we need to charge per year by about 0.35%. So somehow we could calculate what the trade-off is, you know, in terms of what is going to have to be paid by existing users if we allow this to do and happen, and so and work that into the logic about how much we
So
charge
can we do
for the
two things?
future.
Can we come back, maybe in a special meeting, I'll get the legal opinion to make sure we can do what we're going to do, and Bill, you can model some, you know, 1 year delay, 1 year grace period, 2 year grace period, and then we can go from there.
Right.
Okay.
All right, this,
Alright, so let's move to table that item for.
can I just ask one
Go,
question?
sure.
This is just for the items, the people in the pink blocks right now, correct?
It is only for the people that are in 100 feet of an
Okay.
existing line, that have a building on a piece of property that hasn't yet connected, because that that 100-foot thing
Yeah.
is in our ordinances, Article 3,
Okay.
Section 4. That's why.
What are we
Levi-
gonna do with all the green?
It's not a question of, I don't think it's a question of color, it's just.
No, I'm just saying, those are all the ones that are in our sewer service map. If we're gonna tackle this problem on these basis of these pink ones that have to be connected,
Uh-huh.
we should try to figure out what we're gonna do with the green so that we, all the
When we
rest
get
is-
there.
When they get
Green-
to that,
I forget what
all
green
the,
was.
green's all the available land to sewer in your
Yeah.
sewer service map.
Sure.
So, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do with them,
We did.
too. You did? Okay,
Well,
I wasn't here, so I don't know.
We didn't,
We picked out different areas that we had a priority.
So
well,
what
I don't-
is green like?
That's
Here,
not- that's
here,
not
you
your-
look at the map.
yeah, that's not your question, though. Your question is, are we gonna charge them a different connection?
Right, if
We're
we're gonna make
establishing precedent.
if we're gonna make a connection charge here, let's try to figure out how to do the whole thing.
But who's green?
Everybody that's in our sewer service map that is
We don't
not have
pipes
sewer
out there.
there.
Right, we don't have pipes.
But someday there may be pipes there.
Right.
So
Right,
we
we're gonna
really
establish
should,
a precedent here, so.
we should try to set it up so the whole thing's set, so people don't have to sit here and figure this all out.
Okay, so in order to do that, Michael,
Okay?
in order to do that, you have to know your whole
Zoning and
liability.
everything.
Well, you know your zoning, because we have our sewer service map, you know, we know the zoning, so we know the potential number of parcels that could be hooked up if we ever got enough money to run all those pipes.
Correct.
What we don't integrate into this number, which we probably need to integrate into this number, is what is the benefit assessment number? The other piece
What
of
it's
the
go-
puzzle.
Yeah.
Because the benefit assessment could be 7,000, could be 4,000, it could be 2,500, we haven't got there yet.
Okay.
Because we haven't,
All right.
so maybe we can noodle that a little bit, so when we come back to do this connection thing in a couple of weeks, or even wait till the next monthly meeting, we'll have a better fix on that assessment number, because that's another thing
Okay.
we have to get to.
We can't, I don't, well,
We can't do it now.
I don't think we can do it.
Not tonight.
I agree
wanna
with,
move
I
forward
agree.
with the connection on these 38 next month. I wanna
Right,
come up with
that's,
something
that's fair, but we
reasonable
have
grace
to,
period, and I wanna move it.
we have to look at everybody else
All right, so
too.
let's table that item for now, and we go get the legal opinion, and we'll go from there.
Okay. All right, so, now, we're gonna go to number 10, delinquent accounts. We had a big discussion about this, we've turned it over to Mr. Rosengren, he's worked on it very hard, and he's got some stuff for us.
Okay, very, very quickly, try to make it as quick as I can. Computil is the organization that is supposed to take care of, among other things, our delinquent accounts. So I called and spoke with them, the person in charge of this is a lady named Linda. I said, we need to establish, based on the discussion we had here, a list of delinquent accounts. And we started with what they call their monthly aged trial balance, which is, I didn't make copies because I didn't want to kill trees, it's 32 pages. Has every one of our users. And it's got columns, total due, got current due, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, 91 to 120, and over 120. Those are the columns. And it shows if a bill, how much in each column a person might owe. Under our system and under our policy, we don't consider somebody delinquent until the 91st day. In other words, they have the entire quarter to pay. Most people do pay, say, within a 30 or 45-day window, but we never considered anybody delinquent unless it goes into the next quarter. So I asked her to identify everybody who has more than $1 or more, 91 days are out. We drafted a letter based on some sample letters she sent me. I passed around the sample. It turns out there were 79 people who were delinquent. We sent letters to each one, I don't, the Royal and Computil. The letter identifies how much is past due and how much is total due. Okay, so it gives them both figures. If they choose, they see them both, okay? And we did that because you don't want to, according to Computil, you don't want to just tell them what past due is and then have them surprised that, 4 weeks later, they got another bill to pay. Because a lot of people misconstrue when you say past due that there might be some that's not delinquent. So we gave them both figures, and as a result of that, people have started to call in, and we have about 12.5 people who have called in, promised to make payment plans, or either said they were going to pay the whole thing. I have a copy of that list. Again, I didn't want to kill a lot of trees. You can look at it. I think the biggest fish we caught was the guy who owns Michelangelo. Michelangelo owns us literally over almost $13,000. He sent in $2,000, and he says he's going to make payments of $2,000 every month. Okay? And others have payment plans. The general, based on our regulations, and please, they're very difficult to read. I've read them 10 times. I still don't think I can understand them. But it says essentially something like, get them to pay 20% of their bill right now and then work out a payment plan. So that's what Linda is working on for us, and she's obviously getting different responses. If people can pay it all off, they promised her they're gonna just pay it all off. If they can pay 20% now, they'll do that and then pay a steady amount each month. So that's what we've done. I feel confident that within the next 30 days, we'll have commitments from, if not all, most people, and we'll see a fair chunk of change come through. As a result of that, there's, I think, about $60,000 to be had in that exercise. If you want.
Just one question, did the chairman get and decide on any properties that are gonna be leaned, and then, is that?
Yes, I gave Bob a list of everybody that we identified we wanted to lean. It was a list of anybody who had 2,500, right, Bob?
Yes, you did. And I went through the 37-page report, and I identified 4 properties that had age balances of at least $2,500, which were more than 120 days old, and identified properties that had age balance of 120 days that were more than $1,000. And I communicated the map, block, and lot to the First Selectman's office to place a lien on. I spoke today with them, and they're unsure of our statutory authority to do so, or theirs. So I said today, I sent an email. I did some research on my own. I think we may have the authority all by ourselves to do it. And I asked Martha Kalina to confirm whether we have the authority, and if we do, I'm going to move ahead with it. And if we don't, and we have to share it with the municipality, I'm going to advise them of what their role is, if any, in placing the liens, and then I'll go make the big lien hit so that if a property transfers, we can protect it.
Wasn't the town doing that for us?
As I said, I gave it to the town was unsure of proceeding, they were unsure of the legalities of it, and I said, okay, well, we'll take care of the legalities of it. So we're just gonna have to play it for that, and we will. Okay? So yes. I'll
It's
follow
fine,
up.
that's just, I was just curious where we were with
Yep.
that. Just so we don't.
All right, so,
lose that.
David, if you could just tell Computil, good work to you, and maybe every month, you know, like a week ahead of the meeting, they can give you the data of the current rate of collection, that would be a big help for us. Okay. Can we go to 11 USDA funds? I want to report on this. Okay. As you know, what has occurred here is the project has closed out, and we had a certain amount of funds left in the checkbook. And we were not doing anything with those funds because we had gone to the selectmen and had been approved to use about 90,000 of those funds to do certain things at the plant. Not the least of which was reroute the septage receiving thing to the head of the plant, so when we started receiving septage, we could take it through the propeller and we wouldn't rip up the grinders. But we put all of that on hold pending the receipt or non-receipt of the $500,000 steep grant, because we wanted to see if we got the steep grant, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we didn't get the steep grant, and I called USDA and I said, time to do it. But in the meantime, there was a bit of confusion regarding the actual number, and the confusion arose from the fact that there were reporting systems to the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which were handled by Bill and Christine in part, and then there were monthly reports that were handled out of the Board of Selectmen's office, which did not jive. So here's what we know. We know that there is $456,000, $581, 456,581 in a checkbook. The WPCA is not named down at Northwest Community Bank, earning a small amount of interest. What we have reconciled is that we are about $4,000 off between the ARRA accounting and the monthly reports. And Atlantic States nonprofit, remember we joined them a while back? Atlantic States has had somebody in here, Diane Johnson from Atlantic States, and she has gone through every single invoice, and she's narrowed it down to a $4,000 discrepancy. She thinks she knows what it is, but she needs to go through some pre-construction CDM costs and some legal costs, and she thinks she can pinpoint the $4,000. Once she gets that, she's going to report that back to the USDA, to us, the DEP, and the Board of Selectmen, and then we will have to have a discussion about the following. What was the understanding about the drawdown of the various funds? And when I say that, this project was a USDA loan, a DEP grant, and a USDA grant. And the question is, which came first? Which did you use first? Our understanding was, as we drew down against the 8.9 million, the last thing to be drawn down on was the USDA grant. If that remains the case and the USDA agrees with us, we will have pretty close to 450 when we go to the USDA and say, can we spend it right away to do something, like run a line extension or fix those things at the plant. That's important because it leads to item number 12, the DEEP priority list, because as you know, we were placed on the priority list for DEP for Cottage Street. So they have reserved for us, for FY12, 1.2 million has been reserved for New Hartford for the Cottage Street sewer extension.
Is that a loan or grant?
It is under the Reserve for Small Community Projects, which means 25% is a grant and 75% is a loan. So we have 1.2 million from DEP to go down Cottage Street. It may be the case that if we make the repairs or the changes at the plant, we burn the 90, we have 350. We could use the 350 immediately to start the engineering, the pre-engineering costs on Cottage Street, which would reduce, of course, the amount of money we would have to get from DEP. The 1.2 would come down because we could have, they're going to, USDA is going to want us to spend this money right away. So that's the matrix of it.
What happens, there's one thing I don't get. How do you establish whose money it is? It's all fungible.
It's not fungible because there's an understanding about that's what the drawdown is important. In some towns, the drawdown is important. So if the drawdown was USDA grant first, DEP grant second, USDA loan last, then they're going to take the money back. We're not going to have any. That's what's going to happen.
So it's all decided up front. And I remember George going over that when we went to the meeting of DEP, and he did have the priority.
Yes, we have to have a recounting of the understanding about, my understanding of the drawdown was just as we had always said it was. The last thing to draw down was the USDA grant funds, which is what I raised a couple of years ago and said, don't send it back because it's still grant money. Let's talk to them about whether or not we can boost the plant and stuff, because remember we did the heat wrap stuff that Grant wanted, the stuff to do, and then I said the rest of it, if we can grab it, we can then apply it to extensions. We're still in that ball game discussion.
If it's deemed loan last, then they just take it back and say, okay, you don't owe us as much money on the loan?
No, I think that the question is whether it was USDA loan, USDA grant, and then state grant, which is what USDA is saying, or whether it was USDA loan, state grant, and then USDA grant. So the loan is the loan,
Which means we would send a check to DEP.
That was established. Yeah, so is it DEP's money or is it the USDA money? I have, George told us that. I have in my notes that I keep. I have the meeting notes from when Michael Rengeler from USDA was here and went through the letter of conditions. There was a long discussion, according to my notes, about this issue, and it was discussed over and over again that it would be grant, USDA loan, state grant, USDA grant. And then I've got a conversation with George Hicks that I also reported. I've got it in my notes, and I had the same conversation with George Hicks a couple months later, same thing. And then when I was filling out the USDA, the ARRA reports, I was specifically told by USDA when we hit the total loan amount, I said, okay, now what do I report in the grant report? And they said, don't report anything in the grant until you've gone through the state grant money, and then start reporting the USDA grant drawdown. So I mean that's the way it's been since day one.
Yeah.
But now there's somebody new involved, and she's contending that it was supposed to be different.
Do I understand that this money, if it goes the way we want it to go, do I understand this is now WPCA money, it's not town money?
That's
Right.
for use for the plant. and any ancillary, anything that would help make that.
Ancillary to the plan.
Correct.
But they can't, the town can't tell us what to spend it on.
Well, the
Am I
town
correct?
is party to the agreement. So,
Well,
I
can
guess
they
if you
take
as a
a
lawyer.
part of it? Can they take? can the
No,
town
it
take
has to
part of
be, it has to be either spent with respect to within the original design scope of the plan, or something related to the plan, specifically like a sewer extension, which Mary Grasso has said sewer extensions will count. That's why we want
Can
to,
they dictate though, like, use it to fix Main Street,
who?
the town?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
It'd be a much harder argument than a sewer extension.
So before I go on to the next part of that, I just wanna let you know that DEP does have, on a first come, first served basis over the next 2 years, $10 million specifically for bad pump stations. So I'm going on March 6th,
Is it grant money or is that loan money?
I don't know yet. But on March 6th, this list becomes final. There's a public hearing in DEP headquarters about the priority list for people that didn't make it to come in there and say, please put me on. Once it becomes final, I'm also gonna put in, depending on what the nature of it is, if it's whatever it is, I'm gonna put in for fixing the pump station down on Prospect Street. Because there's $10 million in each of the next 2 fiscal years just for pump stations across the state on a first come, first served basis. So whether it's a loan or a grant, I'll find out, but I wanna put our oar in the
I
water.
think it's loan.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty sure
think
it's
it's
gotta be
2% loan.
2%?
I think so.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, so.
I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if there's a grant portion of it, but I think it's loan.
So I'm gonna find out and I'll let you guys know.
So
Cause I wanna take 1.5 million of it for my pump station.
In Simsbury,
Yeah.
did you already put in?
Well, we were on there, but then now it seems like we're not on the list anymore, so we were talking to George the other day about it. So who
You
knows?
guys should wait a while.
Yeah,
Put New Hartford in.
that's fine.
So the state believes that sewer pump station problems are a major. The state is putting its money toward this concept that sewer pump stations are a major issue in this state.
Oh, everybody's got a bad one.
Yeah, so
Just
so
about,
this,
yeah.
so this finding by that committee or by whoever was,
No, it's just,
decided to form the committee.
it misses the point. Now, let me get to the main.
No, I just wanna point out,
Yes.
I just wanna point out that we are in good company by having infrastructure problems. This is not an unusual situation.
Typical sewage bypasses typically are pump station problems, typically. Unless you have a combined system, then it might be going out of your whole plan. But typically, the pump stations are, like you say, old, breakdown, under capacity, so typically that's, and like you say, I mean, 10 million isn't a lot of money for pump stations.
No, we gotta get in and get lucky.
Because, I mean, I think my Wolcott pump station is gonna cost 1.3 or 1.5 to fix.
Wolcott being a road.
Wolcott is a
In
road,
Simsbury?
yes, yes.
All right, here's what I really brought up for 12, and then we were pretty much done for the night. It says here, consideration of request of BOS, BOF. Well, here's what I would like us to do. I would like to say to the Board of Selectmen to go into their budget and budget that the Cottage Street extension, whatever it is, 1.2 million, 900,000 if we get some of the USD, whatever it is, 75%, it turns out to be 2% loan money. I want that to be a townwide obligation, however it occurs. I want the town to pick up the P&I costs for that 75%, because as you know, our budget is stretched pretty thin, and we're gonna be doing the connections, and we're gonna big benefit assessment. So I want you guys to consider a resolution where we would suggest to them that if and when we do the DEP priority list project on Cottage Street, that loan and principal for that 75% doesn't fall on us. It falls as a townwide obligation. It's the beginning of the discussion about the sewer plant and what it's all about, and about economic development, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my thought on putting it on. So Michael, you probably got a little experience on this.
Yeah, I'm wondering, you've got 25 properties or whatever maybe on that street. So these
I
people
don't know,
are
maybe
going to
35,
benefit,
40.
whatever it may be. They're gonna benefit for no cost to them, they're gonna get a sewer line because you want everybody in town to pay for their sewer line? Am I looking at it that way?
75% of it.
They will pay the benefit assessment on the wastewater treatment plant. As soon as the line goes in front of them, they'll be obligated to pay the treatment plant benefit assessment. So that's separate from the line assessment, which would be.
And the
Right, or they go pay a line assessment, that's what I wanna know.
20,
No, I
they'll only
guess
pay
that's the-
25%.
That's a question I have, are they
Right.
gonna, or is everybody in town go take and pay that line for them? I mean, that's great for 45 owners of properties, but how about the rest of the people in town? Just my thought, I don't know where you're going with it, that's all.
Yeah, where I'm going with is this, we can't take any more debt on top of 400 and 440 users, because we've already got a lot of debt. We got 5 loans to the water side, we got this huge USDA thing, which is gonna spike in 2013 to 125,000 a year. I don't see how we get blood on a stone. So, if we were to build that line, okay, and get build it for 1.2 million and wind up with $900,000 loan, I don't know how we pay it out of those people, because it's a low income in town. We're going to hit them with a connection fee and a lateral fee, because we're gonna have to hook them up, and then they'll be subject to the benefit assessment for the capital plan. What more can we do to them? I don't know how we're gonna do it. I don't know.
I don't know, typically you take the cost of the line and divide it by the homeowners, and it would be 15,000, then it goes across the 10-year period or 20-year period, whatever you may wanna do with it. And you could have some provisions for elderly that they don't have to pay it until
Yes, no, we
they
could.
pass on or something like that. But I still think they have to pay for this line.
Divide
Okay, just-
25 into a what?
Divide 900,000
Nine,
by.
like 45
It's
units or
45
whatever.
units.
Is it 45 units?
Yeah, about.
Individual units or
So
whatever you
that's
want to call it.
$20,000 a unit. If, I mean, without the financing.
So I mean, yeah, it just,
Interest. And that's the conundrum.
yeah, I mean, I don't wanna force these people to have a bill. But somebody's gotta pay for this line, I don't know, do you want all the taxpayers in town to pay for it?
My argument's always been that the infrastructure ought to be general tax burden. And the users can pay for the use. It's a town, it's, the river is a town asset.
Mm-hmm.
And we're making a small percentage of the townspeople pay to keep that river full. And I don't think that's fair.
So how many residences do we have in town? 3,000 or
I thought it
6,000?
was more like 4,000 or 5,000.
I don't really know, I don't know.
What,
Total
Households,
Yeah.
actually.
Households.
What's the 4?
That's what
I think there's 6,000 residents.
Yeah, 6,900, so we went into a different grouping this year. I think you
So that
guys
would
had
be-
some information on that.
If there are 4,000 households, that would be a little over, it would be $225 per household. I mean, that, not taking into account the interests and rate and costs and all that stuff. But just to give you an idea of order of magnitude,
If they paid, what,
Impact.
75% of it, or 100%?
100% of the 75%, the 900,000.
And once we get the money from DEP, let's say if there's 900,000 left to be financed, there's 900,000 left to be financed at a 2% loan over 20 years. That's the conditions of the loan, 20 years, 2% set in stone. You gotta get the $900,000 from somewhere, you gotta pay it back. It's about $56,000 a year is what it comes down to. Somebody's gotta pay them back $56,000 a year.
But are you setting precedent on, from now on, all the lines that, extensions we put in, nobody's gonna pay anything on that? The whole town's gonna pay for it? I mean, that's great, you can put the line behind my house next week.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying,
Well,
it's.
I think that we have to call the question, in my own opinion, in some manner, shape, or form. There's got to be a way to run lines affordably. Right now, this is our last chance to run a line. There is no other opportunity. There is no other money. I don't have any money to run $3.1 million of line to Pine Meadow to your place. I don't have it.
If I build a house and I am not, and I need electricity, okay? What does the utility charge me to make sure that I get electricity?
Depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, they build it into their rates.
They build it into their rates.
Yeah.
And everybody pays. Problem is, we're just not a big enough enterprise to be able to absorb, to have, 45 new people absorb $900,000.
It was on an existing base of a user base of 2,000. This would not be an issue. We would have user rates, user fees coming in,
Yeah.
we'd have a capital reserve. We are running from this odd situation. We need some assistance. And, we're just not gonna build all the lines left in New Hartford to go from 80,000 gallons to 400,000 gallons with government money. Somewhere there's gonna be some economic development, I hope someday, I don't know. But while I'm waiting for that, I've gotta get every government dollar I can, and somebody's gotta pay the freight. So,
I have a thing, I happen to be looking through some old WPCA records. Do you remember when Barkhamsted wanted to hook up?
Wasn't that long ago.
Bill should.
Yeah, we haven't thought about that in a while.
It's a couple of years ago.
That was in 2006.
Who do they use now?
They don't.
They don't.
Everybody is on septic and
Yes. And I did a study on the miles from where it would be, and we would not get the Mallory Park. We would, that was Plaza, we would not get them, but we would get them from, I would say, Sterling Engineering on down, and the center of Pleasant Valley.
Why couldn't you get Mallory Brook?
Because that would be going, they already get water from, I believe, Winston.
They get water.
I believe, I'm not sure.
They have a treatment plant.
Winstead does, yes.
I don't know if they
No,
use.
Mallory Brook.
Mallory
Yeah.
Brook has a
Yeah, they
treatment.
have a
Oh, man, they have a
treatment plant.
private.
They have their private treatment.
Okay.
They have their own system and reuse their water
Yeah.
for toilet water and stuff like
So-
that.
And I did and I don't have it handy, but I did a mileage from, let's say, Sterling Engineering all the way down Route 44, and then you'd have a Y coming in at 181 to pick up Pleasant Valley. You would not get Riverton, because Riverton would go to the Winston area. There was talk about it the first selectman. I do have a report on it. In fact, I was going through and I was throwing away some stuff.
But here again, here's the point. We would love to have more customers. We don't care whether they come from Barkhamsted or where they come from. The issue is getting it here through the pipe. Who's gonna pay for the pipe?
Well, you see, they would pay, the way, when Dario was here, and they would pay the pipe, and they would connect to our end pipe up there. They would pay the whole cost all the way down and going into New Hartford.
Sure, that would be a pleasurable
It would,
thing
it
for
would,
us.
it would be their cost
We
on
would be
everything.
happy to take Barkhamsted.
But the reason that was not entertained at the time, there was some speculation of, you can't add that to your sewer plant cost, or USD didn't want us to discuss it.
DEP was not
DEP wasn't
pleased.
Well, if somebody wants to reach out to the Board of Selectmen of Barkhamsted and see what's still a viable option for them, feel free. Because if they wanna revisit it from their community's point of view, we certainly have more than enough capacity to accept.
At the rate we're going, and at the rate that we're finding holes in our sewer line, we're down to about 60,000 gallons a day compared to our 400. Am I
Well,
correct?
you're not comparing 60 to 400, you're comparing 60 to about 75 or 80. we never had more than 80. We have the capacity for 400,000.
That's right, but I mean, we're, well, yeah, but we had to, because we went over the 90,000, we had to get a new plant.
Well, we had other issues,
Well,
we were leaking, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, anybody wants to get another town in, and, you know, quite if Barkhamsted came through, it would have to come right through Main Street, which is our major problem. Maybe we could package up some deal with the state or the feds where while we were coming through Main Street, we could fix this mess right here, but, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
they
they-
would have to have some incentives.
There's no users though, too.
Right, right.
Right now, there's no real users close on that
The
property.
pool
I mean,
users
it's a
on
lot
it
of,
still.
it's a lot of empty space, you know?
Yeah, I'm saying, I don't wanna, I'm
well,
not
they,
getting in
they
debt.
contacted us, we didn't contact them.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
Worth it.
They
that I
could-
know,
do we have an intertown agreement with them?
I don't know.
no.
No, we don't, okay.
Let's get back to this point, because we can always research that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some resolution that we can say to the town, and maybe this is what we bring to the committee on March 15th? The DEP priority list, who's gonna pay? Maybe this is our point on March 15th. I'm just raising the question because I know of the concerns, and I know that, you know, you can't get blood out of a stone.
Bring it up, but they're not gonna go for it.
Well, that's why I want the strength of a resolution, so maybe we'll go to that meeting and then we'll come back and I'll tell you what the story is. All right?
So, would you like somebody to make a resolution?
I'd be happy to have a resolution tonight, see if it passes, I'll take it over to you.
I'll make a resolution.
Okay? I'll say.
And what, do you wanna read it for us, or?
I don't have one, but the resolution would be, we
Well, we make one now.
You gotta make it.
we
I
resolve
can't.
to ask the Board of Selectmen to propose in the general government budget, if possible, to
Include funds.
absorb the liability for the 75% loan of the Cottage Street extension.
Or some part thereof. Do you wanna get the whole thing, or were you willing to get 50% of it?
Well, I'm willing to get the whole thing.
You wanna
I
get
know
the
you
whole
want the whole
thing,
thing,
but
I know you
if
do,
it's
but-
not realistic, you might as well, something is better than nothing.
We gotta raise the issue,
Yeah,
is my point.
resolve.
All right, raise the issue.
That's our resolution.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of the resolution being transmitted? Against?
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna make that resolution as soon as I get it off this tape. Steve, you're gonna have to help me. Okay, any other there's only one other business. I'm gonna submit an invoice from Bob to the WPCA for $156.95, because I ordered this through my credit card on Amazon. This is not mine, this is gonna stay with the WPCA for all time. Okay?
Until it breaks.
Till it breaks, and we gotta buy another one. All right, any other business?
No.
All right.
Oh,
What's
what
the-
about the electricity, you gonna let me sign a contract?
Kenny, you can sign a contract. If
Okay.
it's less than what we're paying now,
Oh, yeah, don't you worry.
yes.
Adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you,
Oh,
gentlemen,
that's-
very nice, thanks. Okay, I'll let you
On
know
that
if we
one,
need a
actually,
special
too.
meeting.
Mike Leclerc.
By the way,
We've met, but
8:30.
Right, right.
more.
I have to go in for an operation.